Hey friends and families of ODV Fashion Style. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with us on how I made this beautiful gown with gathers around the waist and also with the use of drawstrings, compliments of the season. So to start with, I've cut out this piece of fabric. Okay, this I'll be using to make the top portion, and then I'll also be designing it with the other fabric as well. So I've cut out fabric for the back and for the front, and you can see where I'm indicating with my finger. That portion will be for zipper allowance. So the very first measurement I'm taking is on the top, which is the neckline measurement, and for this I'm taking a measurement of 3 inches into 2 inches. Okay, so this measurement will serve as the neckline measurement for the back, and I'm simply using my curve rule to connect both points together. I'm very sure you have seen me do this a lot in my sewing tutorial. And take note that I usually start with the fabric at the top, which is usually for the front portion. So next measurement is our sleeve length, and I'm going with 11 inches. So I'll take a 1 inch shoulder slope and I'll connect it back into the neckline. Okay, thereafter we'll be taking our sleeve round measurement, and for that we are going with 11 inches. Okay, so for our sleeve round is going to be 11 inches, and then I'll also be connecting that point from the top with a straight line using my straight rule. And for the waist area, I'm going to be taking a waist measurement of 8 inches, which is 32 inches divided by 4. Okay, and that will give me 8. So I'm making a point there. I'll also be adding an extra 2-inch seam allowance to it, and I'll be using my curve rule to connect both the sleeve area into the waist area. So this is basically it for the drafting of our pattern for the top. So I went ahead to cut out my pattern, and after this I'll be going on to retake the neckline measurement for the front of this top. So remember that it's a V neckline, so I'll be going with the measurement of 7 inches from the very top. So I'm actually adding the initial 2-inch neckline measurements I took before, and then connecting it back into the neckline area. I've gotten my V shape now. I went ahead to cut it out. So now I have the neck measurement for both the front and the back. So to be able to hem the neck area, I've cut out a piece of fabric in a V shape for the front, and then also I've cut out a piece of fabric for the back neckline as well. So using my finger, I'm indicating the area where I'll be running my stitches. Okay, so after I was done stitching, this is what it now looks like. So I'll be folding it into the wrong side of my fabric. Okay, and then I'll either run a stitch on it or I would use my thread and needle to hem it. So this is what it actually now looks like after I was done running my stitches on both the front and the back fabric. And now I'm simply placing the back fabric on the front fabric, the right sides facing each other. And after I'm done doing that, I'll go ahead to stitch around the shoulders. Okay, so that area where I'm indicating with my finger is where I'll be running my stitches, and this is what it now looks like. So go ahead now to work on the sleeve round area. So I'll be using this piece of fabric from the other Ankara to like create a pattern or design around the sleeve round. So this piece of fabric which I had cut out, I'll be folding in two. Okay, so I just folded in two now, and you see me flip the top over to the wrong side. So You can see the way I've positioned it now. I'll be running my stitches from the top there to the other end. This I would also be repeating for the other sleeve as well. And after I'm done, we're going to be flipping it over to the right side of our fabric. So you can see what I'm doing now. I'm simply flipping it over to the right side. And because I had ironed it out, this is what it now looks like, neatly done. So next thing I'm going to be doing is stitching around the two sides. So I'm going to be closing the two sides, running my stitches on them. So when I'm done with the top, I'll set it aside to work on the skirt portion, which is the gather area. So I have a fabric here, which is about 2.5 yards of length that I'd already cut out. And then also flipping it over to the other side, I've also attached the other kind of Ankara fabric on the top. So you can see that I left out a little space at the middle there before attaching the other fabric on it. And also at the end of it, I also left out a little space, okay? So I've hemmed all the edges around this smaller piece of fabric. So I don't have any other thing I'm going to be working on that fabric, okay? And then I've run a loose stitch as well on the top, okay? And what I'm simply going to be doing now is to draw the thread so as to be able to make my gathers. So I have other videos where I'd shown us how to make gather stitch, so that's why I didn't bother to go into details on how I attached this little piece of fabric. Is something you could do as a beginner, okay? So I'm going to be pulling on that string now to make my gathers. So I'll do this for this side, and I'll also repeat it for the other side. Please take note that when making your gathers and pulling on the string, you have to be careful so it doesn't get caught along the line, because you would have to start all over again. So I'm simply pulling it gently so it doesn't cut. And you can see I have my gathers. It's not so much yet because we're also going to be using our strings to pull around the waist, which will create more gathers, okay? So I think these gathers are okay for now. I'll go ahead now to drag or pull on the other side of our fabric so as to also make gathers. So after I was done pulling on it, this is the final look of the gathers. So next I would be attaching the top to the skirt portion. So ensure that the length is the same, and I'm simply trying to get the midpoint of the top area. So I'll be making a notch at the midpoint there. And remember that there is a midpoint on the skirt portion, which is what I'm indicating now. So I'll be placing the top on the skirt, the right sides facing each other, and I'll be running my stitches around that portion where I'm indicating with my fingers, okay? So this I would also be doing for the other side. And after I was done stitching on this area, this is what the final look is, okay? So this is what it looks like before we start working on the piping for our strings. So this piece of fabric I'd cut out is what I'm going to be using for our piping, and I'm going to start my piping from the area where the short fabric started from, okay? So these are round stitches all the way through to the back, and then also I'll be repeating this on the other side. So you can see how I've placed the fabric. It is first on the top portion, and then I'll flip it over to the other side before running a top stitch. So this is what it looks like after I'd run the first stitch. Now I'm bending it downwards towards the skirt, and you can see me fold it inwards, and I'll be running a top stitch on it. So this is the look after I was done stitching my pipes. So I have pipes on both sides before the middle point at the front there. And I also went ahead to stitch around the edges underneath. So I'll be closing the back now with stitches, okay, from the very top to the end. This is a very big gown, okay, can serve as a maternity gown. It's something I could also wear on my sneakers. So the last and final thing I'm going to be doing here is to be passing through this string which I had sewn using my safety pin. So I'll be putting this string now through the pipe area from the middle point there, okay, and that I'll be using to draw or create more gathers around the waist. So guys, that's basically it for the making of this beautiful gathered dress with drawstrings. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment and give us a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, Merry Christmas. Bye.